a lot of people do want to many people always give themselves a chance to belong to get themselves into the movie. Many people, they want to insert themselves into the movie industry. I mean, we've seen a lot of these examples from wrestlers to basketball players, football players, and of course, in the case of today, the movie that I'm going to talk about today, we are talking about musicians. Although this is something that has been done even many years ago, and sometimes it comes off with some mixed results. Sometimes they come as good, sometimes they come as bad, or sometimes it gives us something that is kind of just entertaining enough because there is a certain passion involved into it. And this is the way I try to open this vlog because I just came out from watching the latest movie that fills out this category, which is none other than Studio 666. In which this one, it is a movie that I just saw the trailer once when I went to AMC theaters, and as it says, it stars this rock band called Foo Fighters. And truth to be told, while I did hear the name of Foo Fighters, I'm also not the kind of person who you should ask me when it's about the music industry, because I'm not exactly this kind of music connoisseur that I'm into, Metallica or what was it, or Iron Maiden, or so on, so on. If you're gonna ask me, for example, hey, what's your favorite rock band? I will probably go with the most common denominator, even though I haven't heard all of the every single music out of it. Although I did hear some of them, you know. I still remember Chop Suey, I remember Alien Ant Farm, and so on, so on. It's gonna be kind of like a long story if I go with it. But when it's about movies, I did seen a fair share out of them when it's about musicians or rock bands or this music group that they get involved into the movie industry. Let's not forget that the Beatles did that. The only Beatles movie I saw, it was actually it was Help. I remember it being entertaining enough. I did also saw a little bit of Hard Day's Night, although I didn't pay attention to it. I would just left it on the background on my TV while I was doing some painting. And I did saw, of course, some of those Rob Zombie movies, and I got mixed feelings about him. I did enjoy House of 1000 Corpse, which it was kind of, I'll say, a big gore fest. That creeped me out because I was very young when I saw it. Don't worry, as young as kind of like a young adult it can be. The Devil's Reject, I know that people love it, but there was something about it that I kind of raised my eyebrows. I haven't seen that third movie, which was one of the few, kind of like the last movie Sid Haig participated. But either way, I have not exactly kind of like a big problem with these kind of these kind of movies that involve musicians. So in a way, I thought that sometimes these kind of movies, they kind of they do a lot of stuff that not many Hollywood movies does. Like for example, they create some kind of like these artsy style of movies. Sometimes they even go beyond what normally horror. When it's in the case of horror movies, they try to up the ante. Like there's more blood, more carnage, more let's say kind of like more colorful characters. Technically, in the sense like a Rob Zombie movie. Yeah. So, but either way, it felt like it was gonna be one of those dark comedy movies when I saw the trailer of Studio 666, and honestly, I don't know much about what is the musical style of Foo Fighters enough to telegraph what they're gonna do. I just the only first impression that I had with the trailer is that, okay, is these guys they are on a haunted mansion, and there's gonna be kind of like this brosy humor, the band humor, so on, so on, so on. And so I didn't go, immediately. I just took a chance to find the correct weather to finally go to the movie theaters. I finally went there, and let me tell you guys, here's something that you're not gonna believe it. I went to the local AMC, the one closest to where I live, and I was the only guy in that room. It was one of the few times that I just go to the movie theater and I am the only one watching that film. Because apparently a lot of people are still watching the Spider-Man movie. Oh yeah, it's still there. It's still there, at least at the time when I'm recording this. Or probably they're giving money for that lame Uncharted movie. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I felt, even though I felt kind of lucky that I was just alone in the movie theater. The last time I had that kind of experience was when I went to watch Sinister 2. But at least in the benefit of Sinister 2 is that I went to a shithole of a movie theater, and nobody knew about that place. But no, this one it was a AMC that is on a shopping mall, and I was there alone. So I had the whole place for myself. But either way, I just sit there, watch Studio 666. And I will say that, man, that people are not exactly missing out, but they're really missing out at the same time. What does that mean? Because this is a movie that it's not exactly perfect. It's not exactly good for the sake of cinematographic talk. But man, that is something to watch. Oh my god, I'm like rambling on this thing. How can I put it into words? Okay. The movie is not exactly, how can I say, Hollywood style well done. You're gonna notice some aspects that's gonna have in these kind of movies. Case in point, for example, some inconsistencies on the story. Some bad acting, some illogical stuff. But either way, if you throw all these things out of the window and say, okay, I'm gonna try to enjoy this movie and all these things, you're gonna get a very passionate project involving these people. A very, very bloody movie. I'm telling you, this movie is very bloody and very gory, and not something that I normally see in these kind of Hollywood movies. I mean, last week I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Netflix version, and the violence on Netflix, that Netflix movie, doesn't hold a candle what Studio 666 did. So I just came out satisfied, but at the same time I was like, you know what? It wasn't exactly a good movie. But you know what? It was still something kind of refreshing, because something that is not normally I could see. So. Man, this is something that I had to talk about it, at least in this vlog. Alright, so here's the story of Studio 666. It involves Foo Fighters playing as themselves, and they're looking for a place so they can build up their 10th album. And of course, their agent or manager, who he's looking, of course, to profit out of them, he's like, "Oh my God, you guys are so unsatisfied. You know, all the things that we're giving you. Okay, fine. I think I got a place where you might like." So he guides them to. He gives them the kind of like this big house, almost in the middle of nowhere. Not too shabby. It's a little bit filthy. It's abandoned. All these things, but enough, to stay there, kind of like a couple of days, and then build up their album. But of course, since this is a horror comedy, there's always the catch that is haunted. In this case, it is haunted by demons, in which also it has this history that previously, I think it was kind of like 20 years ago, and almost in the 90s. Yeah, I think it's 20. I think it's kind of like 30 or 20 years ago. There was a previous band that also were in that house, and everyone got killed. So, yeah, that's all. It's technically the simple answer to what the synopsis of this movie is. But if I have to go a little bit deeper on the plot, the heart of the story, it mostly involved what was it, the leader of the Foo Fighter band, what was it, Dave Grohl. The name always escapes me. Dave Grohl, he's musically constipated. He can't come out with something new out of it, and he's kind of like persistent to find something new for his new cover out of desperation, all these things. I mean, he even watched YouTube videos and all these things, and that was kind of like a very funny moment in which let's say that, what was the name of this guy? Yeah. He begins to sing Lionel Richie's Hello. I don't know, maybe it's to find some inspiration, but it also comes off like a funny moment in which actually we had a cameo of the real Lionel Richie coming to him out of nowhere. He's like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? That's my song." But anyway, the point is that Dave he's trying to find the perfect music until he finally gets some kind of inspiration. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna go exactly into details at the moment. But let's say that this inspiration basically involves hidden artifacts, a dead raccoon, and of course demonic possessions. And so he gets possessed by a demon, and he just begins to act like a very, very asshole-ish perfectionist, and the rest of the game is like, dude, okay, or something like that. They kind of almost doesn't question it, but because they are I don't know, maybe it's because they also are into that, they want to get this album done. But man, oh man. This is a fine moment that I should talk about the acting first. Oh my God, because I will say this: the acting is bad. It's bad acting, but honestly, I have seen worse, honestly, and so I kind of almost never noticed their bad acting, but it's mostly because previously, the last movie I saw, it was actually a Full Moon Studios movie called Transfers 2, and this movie Transfers 2, that one has abysmal acting, with everyone kind of like acting like they don't have emotion, like, "Oh, hello, how's it going?" or all these things. But this one, the acting, Studio 666 acting ranges from cheesy to a little bit kind of like non-act. I'm mostly gonna say that it's kind of like non-acting, because honestly, we're talking about musicians that they're not exactly actors, but hell, that I prefer their kind of acting than the acting LeBron James did last year. because honestly, you can tell that they were just doing their own part. They're just acting chill. They kind of have a little bit of confidence on themselves. Although I'll give it credit that because of the role that Dave Grohl was given, he's actually comes off a little bit kind of like the best, bit one of the highlights of acting that he gives, because even though he wasn't an actor, the way he does it and it's fine. It's more, how can I say, fascinating. Although not fascinating, kind of like, oh, this is bad acting, but it's mostly that he just relished on the role of what he was given. In this case, he's at first he's kind of acting, at first he kind of acts like the dude or something like that, like just a dude, but kind of like a little below tier. But then once he gets possessed and he becomes kind of like this perfectionist, the way he acts, it's kind of hilarious, because when the band begins to disagree, he kind of gives out this menacing look like, "What do you say to me?" It's fascinating, and there's some moments that it was like, okay, I can accept it. And of course, there are the others who they are, how can I say, they're fine. I was kind of remembering what was the name of the guy with the white hair. I think it was Jeff Garling or something like that. No, it's not Jeff Garling. Sorry, Jeff Garling was Jeff Garling was the producer. Sorry, I gotta check out. Oh, it was Pat Smear. Pat Smear. Apparently, I like this guy a lot, and how he was portrayed in the movie, because he was kind of adorkable in this movie. The other, of course, they kind of have this role. The best way I can describe these guys in this movie is almost like, what would you do if you kind of like they were kind of like the Scooby-Doo gang, but if the Scooby-Doo gang, they actually accepted their fate and they're gonna get killed in the movie. Honestly, actually, this is the most of the things that I was thinking about this movie. The whole movie, it feels like an extreme Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Oh yeah, I was mostly talking about the acting. There's some other guys that are there. There's kind of like a delivery guy who is a fan. There's also this neighbor woman who I think that she is kind of like the worst actress. But that's just me. But either way, the acting is not exactly good, but not exactly kind of like the worst thing. But again, it's just me, because the previous movie I saw is none other than Trancers 2. Cinematography is basic, I will say. There's just some basic cinematographic stuff that, and case of where to point the camera here and there. Some of them, of course, I'll say that it's well shot. There's a little bit, some moments in which the editing can go kind of like so-so, but honestly I didn't notice that. But I do want to talk about that the movie does have some nice looking special effects, I'll say. Some of them, some of them not exactly are damn good, but I will say that when it's about when the carnage happens, this is the kind of like the best looking part. But and some of the props are actually really good. That one I like. But when it's about the CGI, I'll say there are special effects in CGI that this is where I kind of a little bit raise my eyebrows, because the movie involves kind of like these shadowy people, shadowy monster, and all this thing, and you can tell that. It's kind of like the most basic as possible from these kind of demons. The best way I can describe it, they kind of look like more demonic versions of Heartless from the Kingdom Hearts. Of course, that they have kind of like this red eye and they go something like that. I can't say a lot about the cosmetics because one thing that I kind of wish that this movie had when it's about the demons is that if they could have kind of like more detailed practical cosmetics. But this is me if I want to compare it kind of a little bit like the Rob Zombie movies in House of 1000 Corpse when you see something really ugly and demonic or something like that, they show the excellent makeup effects. And this one, I think that they could have needed a little bit more of makeup effects for, to make, let's say, more unique monsters. This is one thing that I felt that it needed more uniqueness on the kind of like in the monster. So maybe they could have helped it a little bit of kind of like in makeup designs. Because it basically did, at least with Dave Grohl becoming possessed, is that there are times in which you see him kind of like his sharp teeth or something like that. But honestly, there are times that I kind of don't notice the sharp teeth. And of course, yeah, later in the during kind of like the final moments of the movie, you see him kind of like covered in blood and all these things. But in a way, I think that it could have better benefit if it could have a little bit, how can I say, more makeup. But of course, if I want to be fair, maybe the budget was a little bit too much for them, and it does feel like it's a movie that didn't want it to go kind of like this big high budget. Honestly, the least I could say that the quality of budget that I see in the movie is probably kind of like maybe like Scary Movie 2 if I want to make comparison. But this is only my own comparison. But at least what I shouldn't complain because the makeup. Well, I kind of nitpick about that the use of makeup effects. I will say that this movie has really gory kills. Man, there are really vicious kills in the movie. I'm not gonna exactly reveal you the kills, but I'll give you this clue, which is it is kind of like the clue for the kind of like the best kill in the movie. The best kill in the movie, and is really graphic. I'm telling you, it is really graphic. The best kill in the movie involves two people and a chainsaw and a bed. A chainsaw death that is million times better than what Netflix did. Now that I think of it, this is something that Leatherface has to learn, because that kill, it outmatched every single kill Leatherface had ever done with his chainsaw. Well, maybe I'll give it credit that he at least did some kind of kill in his DLC of Mortal Kombat 10. But either way, if I'm talking about the movie, not the video games, that chainsaw kill on Studio 666, that was awesome. Gruesome, of course, but man, that it showed that it was awesome. Yeah. And now I think I gotta talk to you what kind of kills the movie. Well, let's say that because I don't want to overhype it, in which I already talked to you about, the kind of like the low tier acting that it has. But another thing that actually kind of kills off the movie is the pacing, because this movie feels long, and you can tell that there are some moments that they could have trim, or they could have make it kind of like a little bit shorter, and unfortunately, kind of like the best parts, I think, which it involves, the carnage and of course the whole lore of the house, in which I didn't technically mention that it also involves the Necronomicon. But here's the thing. it takes kind of like a while to get there, and man, that it feels kind of like long and long. I know they were trying to kind of like build up, all these people just trying to make the kind of like the perfect music, but of course, because it's all in the agenda of the demon, to create this perfect music to create the elements enough to bring the devil to the earth and all these things. It feels, it drags and drags, and I was like, okay, when the carnage finally gonna start? It feels like this giant build up until they finally, but just when finally things get started, this is where finally it kicks in. But again, you had to wait these moments, and I was like, so yeah. This is one of the things that kind of kills the movie. But also, I want to warn you one thing. This movie, it kind of it extends itself on its ending. Yeah, because there's a moment in which you feel like everything is gonna be good. Everything feels that it's done. No. The movie decides to buy itself 15 minutes more to build up kind of like its true ending. So yeah, this is one of those things that I wasn't much of a fan of. And again, I didn't, of course, mention that there are some kind of like stupid moments, and sometimes got a little bit of, out of logic, saying that, okay, why didn't you do that or something like that? Because honestly, you kind of get it. Again, it's kind of like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but with blood and gore. Whew. So, is there anything else that I want to talk about Studio 666 without spoiling? Well, honestly, I don't want to spoil anything about this movie. I just said kind of like the biggest things that gave me the impression of this movie, because despite its faults, I kind of do recommend this movie. I do recommend you to watch Studio 666 and judge for yourself if you're gonna have some fun time, because I did. Honestly, when I think about it, looking at this, this empty room where I was watching the movie, it felt sad, because honestly, I find this movie much better sit through than Uncharted, and Uncharted is the one that is being popular enough. And I know, the pacing, I already told you that the pacing feels intimidating, but it's still worth, to put it on the background of, on there. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that the music in this one, I mean, considering that it's coming from a well-respected rock band, the music is great. I love the music. And even the even the supposed music that is gonna open, the demons, for the devil to come out to the earth and all these things, it's awesome. This is probably one of the best soundtracks I have seen, at least for movies to date, at least. So I don't regret watching a band member dealing with the supernatural and having Dave Grohl going completely demonically bonkers. So yeah, you know what? Check it out. There's nothing much to say. But if you say no,